What if you were born into the D&D world, not as a graceful elf or a stoic orc, but something much weaker? What if everyone around you was far stronger and hated you, and you didn't have the numbers to defend yourself? That is the life of a kobold, scraping by on trash and hoping to stay out of the sight of the many terrifying species that squash your kin like bugs. To ensure your survival as well as your family's, you must get sneaky and crafty. Welcome to Critically Misused, a show where we look at misunderstood aspects of D&D. On this episode, we'll be covering the least evil monstrous race, kobolds. Kobolds are cartoonishly weak. In terms of statistics, there are CR 1/4, and their only stat with a positive modifier is dexterity. Their god was imprisoned as a prank by the head gnomish deity, Garl Glittergold, and therefore cannot lend any divine magic to them. Everyone from humans to drow sees them as pests, and will hire mercenaries to wipe them out. Besides the occasional sorcerer, they have no magical capabilities. For kobolds, staying unnoticed isn't malicious, it's survival. Kobolds will do anything to stay out of sight. When they steal, it's from dumpsters to feed themselves, or magic items for protection. Kobolds never attack an enemy they know is stronger, which is all of them, and they will go out of their way to avoid angering whoever's in charge. When they do fight, it's either to defend their home or because something bigger, such as a chromatic dragon, is forcing them to. Though the book tells us they are lawful evil, I can't in good conscience say they are worse than neutral. They just want to survive. But none of this is to say they are defenseless. Kobolds are crafty critters, who could probably make a working sending stone out of 2 old cans, some string, and a spell scroll. What they lack in pretty much everything else, they make up for in cunning and artifice. And that artifice goes to one place in particular, their traps. Kobolds are masters of traps, which fit perfectly into their lifestyle. They play defensively, filling their living spaces with hazards and obstacles. To avoid setting off their own devices, all of these traps are triggered manually, by more weight than a kobold has, or by a tripwire set higher than a kobold is tall. Since these creatures are used to the dark, their lairs will be kept in total darkness, hiding their traps further. When it comes to designing traps, my advice as a DM is to get as creative with them as possible. Consult the Dungeon Master's Guide or Xanathar's Guide if you want information on how to run them mechanically, but here's a brief guide on what saves and damage should look like. Remember, kobolds don't have access to good materials, but will MacGyver effective traps out of what they have available. Less glyph of warding, more bottle of flaming oil, if you catch my drift. Let's run over some examples. The traps begin with either a crude alarm system or a guard kobold alerting the den. From there it varies wildly, but it's important to note that kobolds are excellent diggers. They have secret kobold-sized tunnels connecting all the important parts of their dens, meaning they can move around faster than the party. Their digging skills also make their most common and effective trap, cave-ins. Kobolds can measure exactly how much weight a certain rock formation can carry, and can cave in entire rooms at their command. They would likely only do this if the party was in that room, otherwise it would just limit their own movement. If it works, it's deadly. Pits are amazing. They can be covered in rotting wood or thin sheets of rock, sturdy enough for a kobold to make it across, but not for anything bigger. Flaming oil is a great way to fill them, but not the only option. So consider sticky tar, putrid water, or good old-fashioned spikes as well. Caltraps, ball bearings, and grease can slow the adventurers down, but won't likely kill them. For that, kobolds rely on arrow slits, or rushing the enemy while they're down. They have pack tactics, mind you, so they can deal some serious damage if even one of their allies is within range. Finally, let's talk about my favorite kobold, the Inventor. These kobolds experiment with whatever garbage they can make into a weapon, which is often living animals. Swarms of insects or alchemist fire aren't to be underestimated, but the worst by far is the rot grubs. These foul creatures will burrow beneath your skin, working their way to your heart. If you can't get them out of you on your first turn, you will likely die. And the fact that they have access to these poisonous critters at any time means many of the traps we've mentioned thus far can be poisoned. Blowguns are laughed at by players, but they aren't horrible for otherwise defenseless kobolds. Killing the intruders isn't required for kobolds to win, as either way, their location has been discovered, and it's only a matter of time before backup arrives. Though it might seem like kobolds are attempting to kill the party, their real goal is to buy enough time to get their eggs to a safe location. Kobolds protect their young at all costs. They are willing to die protecting their eggs, as they believe their souls will be reborn into the new young. While the adults die, the young escape, rebuilding their den somewhere else and continuing the cycle. Though I wouldn't consider them pests, I would agree that kobolds are very hard to exterminate. To sum it all up, kobolds are weak little reptiles that use every advantage they get to keep themselves alive. They might be annoying, stealing left shoes and rummaging through dumpsters, but they aren't exactly villains. For DMs, they are an excellent way to play around with traps and hazards in your campaign, but players are best off leaving them alone. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you've made it this far, consider dropping a like and subscribing, and perhaps suggest a monster you'd like to see me cover in the comments below. This video was suggested by Alchemist, as a matter of fact. I write down all the suggestions you give me, even if I don't cover them immediately. Safe travels, until we meet again.